Good morning, third graders. I hope you got to enjoy a beautiful Tuesday yesterday. Also, thank you so much for being patient. I know a lot of what we were trying to get set up yesterday did not work for some of you, and so thank you again for being understanding and patient as we use some of our days to figure out what we can use and what maybe is not going to work the way we hoped, or just get ourselves logged in since we're all in different places. Okay, first things for today, I want to visit with you about your cursive practice. We are going to jump back into that this week, and we're going to do a little bit differently than we've been doing it in class with the different prompts that I've given you. This week, we're picking back up with cursive practice. I am going to give you quite a bit of freedom in what your writing is going to look like while you do this cursive practice, because in these assignments, I am really just looking at your ability to form the letters correctly, uppercase and lowercase letters, and to connect those letters into words. So Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays will be our cursive practice days. And then on Fridays, you will submit one of those three to Seesaw for me to double check. What you're going to be doing is using paper that you have at home, whether that's notebook paper or blank printer paper. I know we're all a little bit limited in what we have right now. Or you may use your Pages app on iPad and go to the markup tool using the three dots up in the top corner, and then just drag your finger or use a stylus pen if you have one at home to practice the cursive. Okay, so that will be your cursive practice, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I will have that noted in on your Google site as part of your checklist and instructions. It will not be on Seesaw, just because that is something you're going to be working on in different ways based on what you have at home and what you're able to do at home. And then you will only submit it once a week on Fridays, and I will let you know when it's time to do that and submit it in your Seesaw journal. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. Yesterday, we introduced the branches of our government and the levels of our U.S. government. And we talked about, and you read in the two articles on Seesaw about how when the United States was first becoming a country in the 1700s, our founding fathers, the leaders of our nation at that time, decided that as we built a government, our government needed to be equal, and it needed to give the people a voice. They had just come from England. They had just fought the Revolutionary War against England to have their freedom from a ruler, a queen or king, who is always making the decisions for the people, whether the people agree with it or not. And moving into a brand new country and having the opportunity to create their very own government from the ground up, they knew, as people who had been under that ruling, they did not want that anymore. They wanted the freedom to make their own decisions and make their own choices, but they knew that they still needed a government. The Bible even tells us we need to have a government that has leadership, that has vision and direction to lead the people, but a leader can take too much control if it is all in their hands. And our founding fathers decided together that was not going to work. So the number one goal of our founding fathers, as they were building a country and a government from the ground up, was that no one man or woman or part of the government should have all of the control. Yes, there needed to be leaders, but not one person should have all of the authority in their hand. It needed to be divided, it needed to be fair, and the people needed to have a part in that government. And so our United States Constitution was written, and the first words of that are "We the people," giving the power and authority of our government and our nation to the citizens of the United States. Yes, we still have leaders, but those leaders are voted on by the citizens. Yes, we still have laws to keep us safe, but those laws are voted on by the citizens. And that is a democracy. And our democracy has three branches where the decisions are made for our nation. Each of these branches is responsible for a different part of taking care of our country, and this is known as the separation of power, because remember, not one part should have all of the power or authority. So it was divided up equally and fairly. We have an executive branch, a legislative branch, and a judicial branch. We will be talking a lot more about those later this week. Because of our democracy and because of the division and separation of power and authority in our branches, the citizens of the United States are treated fairly, The government must follow the laws just like the citizens do, and our democracy makes sure that that happens. Okay, so we have the three branches of government, and those three branches, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branches, are seen in three different areas in our United States government. Because our nation is so big and very, very different across the states, as we looked at when we did our tour of the United States regions, a president is not going to always know the best answers and the best decisions for other states across the country that he may have never lived in or has only visited a couple of times. And so even though, yes, he is the president and yes, he is leading our country, he's not always going to have the best answers for things. And so our government is divided up from the nation, where the president is in charge, down to each state having their own government and a leader who knows what's best for that state, and then zooming into the city that people live in and a leader who is going to know what's best for that city. So let's first study the local government. The local government is the part of the government that leads the cities and the counties. In my head, that is the smallest part, because if you think about a city compared to a state, the city's going to be much smaller. There can be hundreds of cities inside a state. And so this is the smallest part or form of the government. And that's how I kind of like to think about it. So the local government is taking care of what is close to us. It's local, the cities and counties around us. Okay, remember those three branches of government that we talked about? The executive, which is usually the idea maker, the guy in charge. Well, each section of our government, each level of our government has an executive branch. For the local government, that is the mayor. A mayor is the person in charge of the local government. The mayor's job is to carry out the local laws, just like the president would take care of the big laws in the country. That's the mayor's job in a city. A mayor is usually elected by voters that live in that city. The city council is the legislative branch of the local government. The legislative branch are the lawmakers, and so for our country, we're going to be looking at that, but that's basically our Congress. And for a city, that is the city council. They are the ones who work with the mayor to make and pass laws for a city that are going to be best for the people in that city. And remember, not all cities are the same. And so not all rules are going to apply for every person in every city. So the city council are the ones who make those ideas and make those best decisions for each city. So what is the job of the local government, especially if we compare that to the president? Does that mean the president's not in charge of our city? Well, no, that's not exactly what this means, but the local government does have a very specific role and a very specific job. Their job is to help the citizens of a specific area. They're the ones who live there. They're the ones who know about the good things or the bad things in that area, and they're going to be able to make the best decisions. They're going to be able to solve problems specific to that area. For example, if you've ever been to San Francisco in California, San Francisco is in an area that has many earthquakes. Is that a problem we really have here in Houston? No. That's not something our city government has to think about, but it is something that the city government, the local government in San Francisco has to think about all the time. How to prevent it, how to keep their people safe, what to do. We don't think about that in Houston, but we do think about floods in Houston. When there are big and heavy rains, our city government, our local government, our mayor, and our city council, they are sitting there and coming up with plans to protect our city from those kinds of problems that are specific to our area. So our local government is helping us and taking care of us in a very specific way that our president may not always know how to do. So what does this look like, and what are some examples of what our local government is doing? Our local government is in charge of garbage collection to keep our city clean, water services so that we have plenty of water in each house and each building, but that it's also clean water. Road maintenance and making sure roads are prepared and taken care of and repaired as needed so that people are able to travel safely. Our local government helps oversee emergency and medical services specific to what our city needs. Our local government is also over the parks and the recreational areas in that city. Again, that can look different in all different cities and all different areas. And our local government is also over and in charge of the police and fire departments. So friends, here is your job for today. You're going to, after you watch this mini lesson, you are going to choose one of these extra practice activities. You may go to BrainPop Junior and look at notifications to see an assignment that I've sent to you. If you need to know how to get to BrainPop Junior, there is a BrainPop head in the top left corner of your screen. It has a little arrow. Click the arrow and it'll bring up a list, and you should see BrainPop Junior there. It will show you an assignment that I have sent you. Or you may click on Kahoots from the Google site and try a different Kahoot to review today's notes. Or choose to go to Epic and read Government in Your City or Town. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. I miss you guys. See you tomorrow. Bye.